From CRI Simple Numbers, this is Profitability Playbook, the Simple Numbers Podcast, a podcast for those who champion market growth and anchor the nation's economy, small businesses, and entrepreneurs.
Hi there. Welcome to the Simple Numbers Profitability Playbook Podcast. And in our first podcast of 2025, Ryan and Gray starts off with technical difficulties, camera issues.
We're rolling,
and all
little.
that.
We will not be defeated.
That's right. That's right. And first of all, hope everyone had a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, or whatever it is you celebrate. But that's what we did here. Brandon, let's start off. You get anything fun for Christmas? Anything cool?
So I got a great dad gift, which those who know me, I'm kind of a boring person anyway, but the retractable ratchet straps.
Mm-hmm.
So, whenever you're tying stuff down, whether on the trailer, in the truck or what have you, and you're fooling with the ratchet strap and you just hit a button and this thing just winds back up. Great.
That's cool. Hey, I did too. One thing I love is when the kids get to buy stuff from their little store, I got a back scratcher, and
there's a history with Mike and back scratchers.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was and of course they didn't know it. They were just over there like, hey, I think Dad would like to scratch his back.
For everybody listening, when Mike gets in the zone, he's got this back scratcher that looks like and he walks around with it like it's a wand of some kind, and he is great. We should video that and put it out sometime.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And hey, we're both wearing like a little bit of
because it's freezing cold here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, in Alabama, it drops below 40 degrees, and if you're bald, it's miserable. Mike's sending me, guys. So Mike is sending me to New Holland, Pennsylvania next week for a speaking event.
Oh God. It's going to be cold.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pack hand warmers and stuff. It's going to be bad.
Hey, I wanted to take, I told everyone, I'm originally from Erie, Pennsylvania. So I wanted to take Brandon up there and let him go ice fishing. And, I told him, I go, it all hits different because Brandon's a big fisher. We've talked about this before. And I go, it all hits different when, you're sitting out there on the ice fishing and someone rolls up there with a truck on the ice by you, and you start thinking about all, falling through and all that fun stuff. So, but awesome. Well, hey, we had a great, year of podcasts planned for you. You're going to see some guests this year. You're going to see some, some different things we're going to discuss. Obviously, me and Brandon will continue to hit the topics you all love and maybe some others. We'll still clear of religion and politics, the good stuff, but we're not that stuff. We're not Joe Rogan over here going to bring on medical professionals and do all kinds of other stuff. So we tried to get Elon Musk. We did. He shut us. He's like, I don't even know who you guys are. But
we do have a great guest that's going to join us. Everything going as planned next week. So, everybody make sure to tune in to next week's episode as well, because I think you're going to enjoy what we got lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Awesome. And today we're going to kick off the new year talking cash flow. And I think every business loves to talk cash flow. We're going to talk about your cash flow signature. We're going to talk about maybe some of them little tweaks you can need to make in your business that can get that money coming in a little quicker. Because, listen, you could have some great growth planned out, but not be able to fund it. And I think that's one of the key points is that what is it? Revenues, vanity, profit synergy.
King. Yeah. So we'll, especially when we're working with a new client, one of the things we'll do is we'll map out some planning scenarios for them, what their levers need to be to stay profitable during that growth. And you kind of, everybody's really engaged and excited. Then you go, okay, that sounds great, but are we got the cash to do this? And you see this look of panic or fear almost come over people at times, because a lot of people can forecast profit, not super difficult. But when you start to try to forecast cash flow, there's a lot of moving pieces involved in that. So we're going to dissect a few of those today. As always, when you listen to this, if you've got further questions, need to chat specifically about your situation, because they're going to vary. let us know, just send us a message, get up with us. So, but I guess, to kind of start it, Mike said it, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. And so there's a couple of things that you want to look at when you're planning cash flow. So the first is what we would call, what is your cash flow signature? What's that look like? And what we mean by that is there's certain things in your business that you have to have capital for in order to grow. So good example, simple one. Most businesses are going to have accounts receivable. And years ago, when we first started kind of going through the simple numbers concept, there was a graph we would show that would be an example of a business that had 30-day terms. And so if you think about the way that would work, you work for an entire month, you send an invoice on the 30th, you work for another month, and then hopefully you get paid. That's the 30 days. So you have 60 days of cost into this, or what we would call funding the receivable, in order to make that work. And so whenever you would show the cash flow of that, people would just kind of like, wow, it takes like a 15% profit, something like 18 months to get that initial investment of capital back. So that's what we mean when we say your cash flow signature. How long does it, what do you have to cover inside your business relative to the terms that you may get from vendors and what have you? Because if you're in a service-based business, you don't have a whole lot of vendors in most cases. Other types of businesses where you got subcontractors maybe, or a lot of materials, you get some terms, but also in a lot of those businesses, you have to carry inventory. So now I've got to buy the inventory. And as I'm growing, what do I need? Mike, what do we need? What do we grow? People. And what else? If I thought in a material business, retail business, inventory.
Right. That's what you do. Yeah. Oh, you were just saying. You're just saying inventory. Well, no, you're just saying inventory.
You gotta have inventory. So it grows.
You got to fund. So the most difficult one that we see, the most difficult cash flow signature, is whenever you carry receivables and you have inventory. That's going to make it extremely difficult to grow, because your vendors are going to give you some terms, but typically not enough to compensate for both of those activities taking place. So that's the first thing, is just understanding, okay, am I a business that when I grow requires a lot of capital, or the ones we really like and most entrepreneurs really like, ones that don't? So I'll give an example of that one. If you're one of our clients that may be in like the lawn care business, that comes in and applies the fertilizer 4 or 5 times a year and the weed treatment and all that. And they usually have a monthly plan. And so at the first of the month, they hit invoice. And by the 5th to 7th of the month, all the cash is in for that month.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got my cash today. Or if I'm a business that gets a deposit. So if you can get a deposit on a project, on a service, whatever it may be, then once again, that goes a long way to enabling the cash flow signature to work out.
Well, and if you look at Brandon and our value builders we've talked about before, where companies who want to buy other companies. I mean, obviously all kinds are bought, but what are one of the value builders is, hey, that recurring revenue, and the other one is days to cash, right? Like how quick are you getting that money in? And so, hey, do you have either recurring revenue or repeat customers that are getting you that money in? And is your days to cash quick?
Right.
And so that's
the initial investment.
Yep. Because what Brandon didn't, he did, but I mean, we didn't touch on it, but remember when you send that invoice 30 days after you do the work, people want paid, I mean,
terms.
Yeah. So that's definitely got to happen. And so, that money's going out the door quickly. And so you see a lot of businesses out there, and that's why people want that deposit money, is to, fund the work that's going to be done ahead of time.
So once you kind of understand that, then you can start to go, well, what are my levers? What can I work on? And so Alan Miltz has done a lot of great work on what he calls the power of one. He's a friend of Simple Numbers, so we've done a lot of presentations together, and he's got a really good process. And so I'll give you just a handful high level things there. And then as we kind of go through, we'll talk about the impact that they can make. And so at its very basics, you're looking at, can I increase revenue by 1%? Which in most businesses, even though it's difficult to pass on price increases right now, 1% isn't a huge lift.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get a slight increase in what I'm charging? Secondly, can I lower my direct costs by 1%? So I got to have some conversations with my vendors, and most of the time, if you have the conversation and you guys are on great terms, they'll work with you a little bit, especially if it's a large order or something like that. And so if I have to, I even go shop. So one of the things we see a lot of times with companies that have purchasing departments, kind of put that in quotations, is they do the easy thing. They're not holding the vendors accountable. And so I get a 1% decline there. I look at my operating expenses and see, can I get a 1% decline in my operating expenses? Now, with this one, I want to emphasize something here. Don't spend hours going through your P&L trying to save $30 a month on satellite radio subscription. It's not a good use of your time. What I would rather you focus on is how can I increase the efficiency of my team? That's the key. That's going to, from 9 out of 10 businesses, that's going to be the biggest investment that you have in your business. So yeah, there's two things that we look at, and one's kind of ironic. The first is unnecessary business travel. So are you just, whatever organization you're a part of, or have you become a professional at doing that and you're not getting reimbursed your travel? The second is overpaid and underperforming consultants, which is kind of ironic coming from two consultants.
Yeah. No,
hey,
we're doing great though.
If they're producing, great. But if they're not, that gets expensive quick. So look at those, look at your labor. Okay. So I get a 1% decline there. Those are changes. Whenever you can make a change on the P&L like that to increase profitability, obviously, there's a flow to it, but that's a long-standing impact to cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you get over to the balance sheet and you look at, well, what levers do I have over here? So one is, can I decrease the amount of time it takes me to collect by day? Well, there's a couple of factors that go into that. We always think of the immediate one of, okay, well, I just need to get on the phone and call people. Yes, that's important. If you don't have a collections process and someone in the organization who is responsible for collections, you've got a gap, just go and fix it. But more importantly, if you dig deeper into that, when do I invoice? Do I wait 30 days to invoice? Why do I have to do that? Why can't I invoice in 15 days? And your bookkeeper account is going to love us for mentioning this, but if I can speed up the amount of time, I start the clock earlier, right? So I want to invoice as soon as I can. So when do I invoice? Can I speed that up? Also, go ahead, Mike.
Oh no, what I was going to say is two quick little stories here, and I'll just use us back in the CRB days, the Crabtree Rowan Burger days. So real quick about me. So when I started here, I was hired to manage the firm, right? I remember good old Brandon there interviewing me and everything. He had hair and didn't really have that gray beard or anything. But
young buck.
Yeah, we were, man. I was thinking about it, I was in my 20s, insane, right? We one of the things I did was that I was wanted was, credit card payments. We were recurring revenue, but we sent out invoices. So it was nice. We had the recurring revenue, but the recurring revenue was sent on invoices. And so while we invoiced the first of the month, we still had to wait. And so, I did the credit card payments. And yes, everybody, the credit card fees sucked at first. I mean, ACH wasn't really that big when we started this, but we gave it an option. And we said, hey, we'll keep invoicing you or we'll do credit cards. Boy, all of a sudden, when I changed that over, you want to talk, we were small at the time. We were a few $1 million in revenue. And I just remember all of a sudden that first hit. And next thing you know, bam, the bank account is just up there. And you're just like, oh my God.
You don't have to sweat anymore all the time. Yeah.
And then you sort of do it. And then you sort of understand that, like, hey, that's why these companies now, you get on there, hey, enter your credit card info. They're going to hit it every month and they're going to get it immediately. That's exactly what we're talking about. And I know some of you are probably sitting here going, man, my clients, they're going to be upset because, hey, it's like, listen, we had to take the hard line. Maybe you start off soft with an option. I know small businesses out there like, oh man, but my clients never. Listen, AT&T don't give you a choice. These other places don't give you a choice. This is how you're going to pay and you're going to do it. At some point, you got to draw the line in the sand and be like, hey, we're in the 21st century. This whole sending out the paper and stuff like that and some of these things and waiting for the check. It's like, no, just do it now. And another one had a client of ours, Days to Cash. What they ended up doing is just the way they were in a decent cash position, but they decided to invoice half their clients on the first, half their clients on the 15th, and just created that cycle. So invoices were being sent out every 2 weeks. Next thing you know, cash just constantly coming in. They shorten their terms, all that stuff. Quick.
Great examples. If you have inventory in your business, this is one of the most mismanaged areas that we see with clients. Looking at it and getting an idea of what we call the GMROI, which is just gross margin return on investment. So you look at the gross margin that each item is generating times the number of turns with that item. That tells you what you're selling and getting the best investment on. Those are the things I need to pay attention to. If it's outside of that on your list, do I really need to carry much of it? Okay. So managing the inventory a little bit better there than the other one is the accounts payable. Can I increase my terms slightly? Once again, having a conversation with your vendors if cash is tight. Hey, you got a great relationship, be on the phone. Look, cash is tight. We're going to pay you. We always have paid you. I need another week because we're waiting on this customer to pay us. And they get it. They're business people as well also. And so those changes different from the P&L. Those are one-time hits. So you get, you lower the days outstanding, you increase your days on payables, get your inventory down a little bit. Those are one-time pops versus the ones that you would make on the P&L, which are going to be continuous as far as that part goes. And so, looking at those kind of things can make a big impact. And once again, if you understand what my cash flow signature looks like, I then can prepare for growth ahead of time. And if I do need to acquire capital, I can then go ahead and go to the bank and start having the conversations about lines of credit, which you guys, if you read the Simple Numbers books, we've said it before. Lines of credit can become like crack cocaine for entrepreneurs. Once you get on them, it's hard to get off. But there is a place to use them, and that is to finance profitable growth. Not to cover because we're losing business or we're losing dollars. So we got to make changes to our structure if that's the case. But if I'm having to float that cash flow, that's where that comes in handy. I had a client one time. This is kind of cool, Mike. This was years ago. They were in Atlanta, which is the home for Home Depot. And they were a marketing company that had a contract with Home Depot. And it was going to take an entire year to produce the work product. And the only terms they could get a Home Depot to agree to was that payment was upon delivery of the product. Yeah. So it's like 365-day terms. And they had a contract with Home Depot in hand and went to their bank and said, hey, which they had a great relationship with, and said, look, here's the deal. You got to float me for a year on this. And it's going to be really good at the end. And the bank agreed, got them through the cash flow issue. They used the line appropriately there. It was profitable work. They delivered the work product. Home Depot paid best year ever. So, that's an extreme example, but those are out there. And that's the proper usage of a line of credit. Mm-hmm. Notice the one thing we didn't talk about a whole lot there were owner distributions, because whenever you start to look at the forces of cash flow, those come last. And so I might have to go on a little bit of a distribution diet as well, which means, hey, I got to keep the trains running at home. I get that. But, there might be some discretionary things we have to put off if we're in a cash flow jam. So, needless to say, those are just a handful of things that you can do that will help with the cash flow as we go into the new year.
Oh, real quick. Can I say one thing, Brandon, about the distributions?
Yeah.
Listen, we want you to take distributions. We all about it. Remember Simple Numbers 101. What are the forces of cash flow? And when you take those distributions, do you have all those other boxes met, right? You have the taxes set aside. You have the line of credit paid down. You have your core capital target met. Have you made your reinvestments back in the business? And so it's structured. And so with a lot of our clients, when you're looking at cash flow, if you just say, hey, every quarter I'm going to review for distributions based on those factors, you'll be a lot more comfortable with cash flow and when you withdraw that money.
That's actually one of the things that we grade success on. So were we able to help a client get profitable, operate in a positive cash flow environment, and then get to that finish line to where it's like, hey, all the boxes are checked. You get a return on your investment now. Mm-hmm. That's a fun day. That is one of the most fun calls we get to have, is whenever people cross that finish line. So
yeah, and when that cash flow improves and you just pay yourself a normal salary and not just suck it all out at one time, right? Like, oh, I took $30,000 out, like all at once. So when payroll is coming, remember, it's about that money flow. So if you're taking a normal paycheck and hey, that check is coming out and it's not in $30,000-$40,000 pops of cash being removed, it obviously helps with that.
Doesn't shock the system.
That's right. Yep. Cool. Awesome. Well, hey, great talk, Brandon. I believe we have the geeks next week.
We have special guests coming next week, so we're going to talk about a gentleman who is an entrepreneur, is invested in several different businesses, has great principles for investments. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Like I said, I think everybody's really going to enjoy the conversation.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Well, hey, that's Brandon. I'm Mike. We'll see you all or talk to you or hear you or you'll hear us, however we do it, man. People watch on YouTube and obviously listen to us. But, hey, real quick, I want to thank you all out there for listening. Getting lots of good feedback on it. People actually, Brandon, are saying they enjoy it. So that's good.
Right. Hey, thanks my day. Keep it up and share it. Share it with others.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. Have a good one.
I'll take care.
See you.
If you want to know more about driving sustainable profitability for your business or are interested in learning more about CRI Simple Numbers, please visit our website at simplenumberscri.com. Thanks for listening to this episode of Profitability Playbook, the Simple Numbers Podcast. You can subscribe to Profitability Playbook on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. If you liked what you heard today, please leave us a review. The views expressed on Profitability Playbook, the Simple Numbers Podcast, are those of the presenter and moderator and do not necessarily reflect the views of CRI Simple Numbers or the CRI family of companies. This podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to replace professional advice received directly. Consult with your CRI Simple Numbers advisor or another trusted professional if you have questions about your specific situation.